Hi there, and welcome to Back to the Wild. What a wonderful place this is. Mona and Bill Rutgers started this 14 years ago, and it's a beautiful place and growing every year. Mona tells me 2,000 animals as an average are brought here each year for rehabilitation. The whole idea is, and this is not for doggies or kitties, not domestic animals, but wild animals that need your help. And if there's any way you could possibly donate to this wonderful organization, I am here at a fundraiser, the big fundraiser of the year. They have had an auction and making money to keep the Back to the Wild going. If you could possibly see it in your heart to make a donation, we will have that information for you at the end of the program.
Another beautiful red tail, still growing out some of his flight feathers from the molt, which occurs in late summer. Okay, this red tail was also struck by a car. Car strikes and power line strikes, poisonings are most of the injuries that we receive. Some of them we never really do know what has happened to them, but x-rays usually show where the bone's broken, and we splint them, and the bones usually knit back together pretty good if the break's in the middle. We're heading over to Pickerel Creek here. It's a state wildlife area, and it's actually a real good habitat for all kinds of, the whole food chains there, because of the wetlands that are available. And I believe there's plenty of rodents, small rabbits, and the kinds of prey that this red tail would need. Typically, they like to immediately land in a nearby tree just to get their, surroundings, take it in and figure out where they're at. He's going to have to go a little way here. I see a couple dead trees out here he may use for a vantage point. We'll let them get a look around. I don't like to just throw them out, of their cage when they have no idea where they're going. So he gets a look at the layout here. He's ready to go. Realizing that 90% of the animals, that people were finding injured were not nature taking its course, but human carelessness had caused their injuries. I just felt, there must be something we could do. So I began obtaining the permits that I needed that allowed me to accept wildlife. You have to be federally and state licensed, and that took quite a bit of red tape, but again, I never really planned a large rehabilitation center. I just thought I could help a few animals out, and it just created its own life and snowballed into what we have today. Unfortunately, wildlife rehabilitation centers are obligated to find their own funding. We are not funded by any tax monies. No state or federal agencies that license us are able to fund us. So we are encouraged to seek our own donations to operate our centers, and that's a real big challenge because we're so busy trying to keep up with the animal care and just what all has to be done to maintain and run the center that seeking funding takes a huge amount of our time to try to raise enough funds. We literally depend 100% on community support, gifts and donations from individuals. We've been receiving memorials for people who loved wildlife and their families felt that that would be important to them. School kids they have penny drives and recycle aluminum cans like the Girl Scouts here in Castalia. We depend on the public to help us out. One of the most important people who help support our centers are a few veterinarians in the area who donate countless hours to helping us tend to our wild animals, assisting us with even offering free x-rays and and giving of their time and expertise, and without those vets, you know, we just really could not do this work.
My role as a veterinarian here is to give medical advice on treatment and therapeutics and rehabilitation so the animals can be rehabilitated and be released back into their natural habitat. I also serve on the board of the organization. A lot of veterinary schools will offer additional courses that we can take, and one of them at Ohio State was on zoo animal medicine, and I took that. The rest of my knowledge I get from Mona Rutger, the director of the organization, and with the knowledge she gives me and what I've gained through studying veterinary medicine, we can put together treatment protocols for each type of animal. I also use other veterinarians. I can call on any of the specialists that there are in anywhere in the United States, and I often have done that. We also use avian specialists in the area in North Ridgeville that they do a lot of work for other rehabilitation centers.
The expense that's involved in caring and feeding these animals is phenomenal. It's not like buying bags of dog food or getting a lot of cat and dog food donated. I wish we could use that, and we do have many supporters offer those kinds of donations. Unfortunately, we need to feed these wild animals their natural diets, and that means lots and lots of rodents. We currently have 7 freezers full of mice and rats, frozen, and we raise live mice and rats. That's very costly. The bedding, the food that those animals have to eat to be a healthy food diet for the animal that eats them is expensive. It's a rodent block. We can't feed them cheaply. We need fish. We have 7 bald eagles at the center. Fish are very expensive to come across. Fortunately, we've had some people donate fish. There's lots of expenses. We need mealworms, millions of mealworms. We order something like 40,000 a month for bats and songbirds and amphibians and reptiles. Unfortunately, we would love to be able to return each and every animal back into the wild that comes into this center, but many of them die en route or shortly after arriving here due to extensive injuries, and we often end up with animals that we can save, but they are crippled. They might have a partial amputation of a wing or some other debilitating reason why they can't return to the wild. There's a valid argument that it would be more humane to euthanize these animals rather than keep them captive, but we have found that a few can tolerate captivity quite well and serve as powerful educational tools to benefit other wildlife. We use them to help make kids and adults aware of the natural world around them and the plight of these animals and what we can do to help. We need to become responsible caretakers of this earth and these disabled animals that we obtain special permission to use in educational programs really help us deliver that message.